In this video, we're going to take a look at the built-in effects in Tracktion 5. The built-in effects are really quite simple, and they're kind of elements you can use as building blocks. They become really important when we're working with rack effects, which we'll cover in a later series. But right now, I want to take a look at what the effects are, how you find them in the system. To see what the traction effects are, you can grab the plugin object, drop it on a track, and you'll see the traction plugins listed right here. Now the volume and pan is the same thing as this right here, where you've got a volume and a pan control. You can drop multiples of these into your track if you need to. You can kind of use it as a gain stage to adjust the level between plugins. You can also add a level meter anywhere you'd like. There's a nice 4-band equalizer, and then basic reverb, a basic delay, a chorus, a phaser. There's a basic compressor, a pitch shifter. This is a high-pass or low-pass filter, and so those make up the basic things that we're going to talk about. There's also a text. Let me just show you that right away. If you add a text plugin, then all you do is you can give it a name, GTR2, and just say this was... And you can just type in any notes that you want related to the track, or any notes at all that you want to remind you or explain the setup in any way. Also, you could just use it to label things up in here if you want as well, because the name appears right on that plugin. So that's the text plugin. It doesn't make any sound, and all you can really do is add it, add text to it, and delete it. It's great. Now you can also add plugins from the browser. So if you open the browser, if it's not open, go to the plugins tab. If you expand it enough, you'll see that there's a manufacturer. If you click on that, it will sort it by manufacturer. And if you come down here to where it says Tracktion, then you'll see all of the Tracktion software plugins. Another way to do that is just to search by typing in the word Tracktion like this. So let's take a look at the 4-band equalizer. So I'll select the 4-band equalizer and drag it and drop it on my lead part right here. Now you can see how you work with the equalizer is you can grab here and drag, and this actually sets the Q. And this sets the gain. So if we set the gain like this to create a shelf, then grab outside into this circle here and start to basically move around, you can then adjust the Q. So that allows you to put in a shelf, drag that shelf, or if we wanted to really more or less cut in this area, we can put in a kind of a gentle shelf like this, grab that node, and then we can kind of filter out the low end, since we probably don't need a lot of low end on this solo. And then if you wanted to find another frequency to emphasize in there, you can just pick another band, tighten this up, and then as it plays back, sweep around till we find something that we want to emphasize. So that's really how it works. It's very simple. It's really easy to use. So you could just basically set the Q here. You set the gain up and down. You set the frequency, dragging left and right on these nodes. And if you get a setup you like, then you can save a preset. So you can create a new preset. It's set to 4-band equalizer. I can just say this is lead guitar EQ. Optional description. You can also put in some tags. We'll call it EQ, and then click OK. And then that preset will be available here in the preset browser. So if I filter by EQ, you'll see here's my preset that I just created. And this works for all of the plugins. So that's kind of how the EQ works. Let's take a look at the reverb. I'm going to drop the reverb on here as well. And you can see the reverb gives you room size, damping, a wet-dry mix. Let's play it back. Now these don't have fancy user interfaces, it's really just sliders here, but it is really effective and it's kind of refreshing in a way to see just a very straightforward set of controls, and it gives you a wide variety of reverb sounds. So that's reverb. Let's take a look at the delay. Let's add a delay after the reverb just for interest. And here we can just adjust the reverb time, the amount of feedback, and then the mix, basically. You can also set it to beat sync. So I'll play it back and show you some of these. Now you'll notice it's just a mono delay. Now there is a way to configure two of these into a rack in order to make it into a stereo delay. We'll be getting into that in the special Tracktion series on racks that's coming up. So let's take a look at the chorus. We'll add the chorus in here as well. And the chorus has a width. So basically a chorus is a modulating low delay that you mix in with the dry signal. And let's try putting the chorus on one of these guitar parts instead of on this particular part. We can move any of these to another part by just dragging it like that. And now we've moved it to the other part. I'll just solo this out. So that gives you an idea of chorus. Let's put the phaser on the other one. Phaser is a phase shifter. It works a little bit differently. It gives you a little more swirly kind of a sound. So I'll solo this track and put the phaser on it. We can easily change the order of these by just grab any of them and drag them to change the order. Now we'll take a look at the compressor limiter. I'm going to put this on the drums. And before the compressor, I'm going to add another level meter. And then I'll move our native level meter after it, because the compressor is really fairly basic. All right, so the compressor in and of itself doesn't have metering built in. So you really kind of need to, if you want to visually see what's going on, you'd put in whatever ratio you want. And so I'll set the ratio. The ratio goes up to 20:1, which is like limiting. For drums, I'm going to set this pretty high at 12. And then I'm going to slowly lower the threshold, and you'll see the difference between this meter. You can also clearly hear it when it starts to kick in. I've also lowered the attack quite a bit to get it where it will also kick in pretty quickly. It'll also release quite quickly. A lot of times you set the release to kind of match the tempo of the song to get the drums grooving along. This output is really makeup gain. So once we start to take some of the volume out of it, then we can make it back up, which I'll do as I play it back. The compressor is really basic. It does sound pretty cool if you really kind of overdrive it like that. On the other hand, because it lacks metering, I would say much of the time I would actually go for a third-party compressor, and I have lots of those available. So it's really not much of a limitation. Another thing about plugins is you can add them by simply right-clicking on an existing plugin. So I'm going to go to the chorus here, and I'm going to add the pitch shifter. So I'll right-click here, select Add New Plugin. I can choose from the list here, and then choose the pitch shifter. And then that's adding it before the chorus. The pitch shifter is really just a process to, in real time, change the pitch. So here's the original pitch, but then I can go up another number of semitones, or you can pick from this list and go up, say, there's 12 semitones to an octave. So if you go up or down a semitone, you can set it to the original pitch. I'll play back and show you how this works. So that's kind of cool. You can also choose the algorithm it uses to do that. Elastic transient is best for drums. Elastic tonal is best for something that's more melodic. And you can also use the sound touch algorithms if you want. Typically the elastic will sound more natural. Now there's one more I want to show you, and that is the high pass and low pass filter. So we'll do a high pass filter on each of these guitar parts as the first step. So I'm going to drag a high pass filter in here. I'm going to drag another one down here. If you click it, here you select if it's low pass or high pass. So to roll off the lows, you choose it as high pass. If you want to do both, you'd put two of these in series. And then just adjust this to suit. Basically, keep bringing it up until it's not really affecting the tone too much. So we'll do this to both of our rhythm parts. See, that's set to low pass, so I was filtering off all the highs. I need it as high pass. It's a kind of a quick way to create a lo-fi sound. So if you put two of these, say, on your drum part, like this. So the first one's going to be high pass. So we'll filter out everything up to about 300. And then the second one will be low pass. So I'll filter that down to about 3000. Let's hear how that sounds. Now I'll select them both together and hit F. So that's another cool thing you can do. You can select multiple plugins at the same time and bypass them all. If I use the Shift key, then I can select multiples like this. So I've got them all selected. This allows me to pretty much bypass all my plugins at the same time. Let's unsolo this. I've got my lo-fi drums going there. So if I don't want the lo-fi drums, I can just take them right back out. So that's a quick overview of all the native audio plugins in Tracktion 5. Thanks for watching.